Hello and good evening, monster children. I am back once again to do one of these ridiculous commentaries where I talk over a good movie. I don't know why I do that. Actually, I do know why I do that because this is one of my favorites of all times. This is the original 1933 King Kong. I saw this when I was way young. This represents basically me as a barely past toddler age, like when I first started figuring out this whole not being able to sleep at night thing. One of the oldest movies I remember is this and Frankenstein, um, Creature from the Black Lagoon, and then the old TV shows, the black and white deals, Lone Ranger and Twilight Zone, Hitchcock, all that stuff. The reason I remember those is because when I was a kid, it was like early 80s, late 70s, like mainly early 80s. And the old black and white stuff from my parents' generation had now become cheap properties. So when television stations needed something to show in the middle of the night and, kind of fill up space, they went to these old movies that were made, 50 years before I was born and stuff. So, this one is one that was always on in the middle of the night, and they would always mix it in with Ape Week with the Godzilla movies and a bunch of other things. So it would turn up often. I've seen it many times. I'm also a big fan of I believe it's 1976 version, the Dino De Laurentiis one with Jessica Lange and Jeff Bridges. Also, there's a Peter Jackson remake in 2005. I'm also a big fan of that. I may get to that sometime too, but it's important to me to do the original. It's a movie I love so much, I actually have a tattoo of it. So sometimes I've shown this before on the channel, and I thought, what a better way to explain my tacky tattoo to people. So we'll be watching this. It's the hour and 41-minute version, the one where they put when they released it originally, there was a bunch of stuff that they took out because it was a little too dirty and salacious for people. So sometime in the 50s, they found an original print, I think 59 maybe, and they re-put out the original, the added, 6 or 7 minutes that were gone. So this is the dirty version, the director's cut. I see some folks are filing in here. That's always the funnest part, the beginning of the show when I don't know what I'm talking to no one and I have no idea what I'm saying. But anyways, I should start the show. It's late. I'm up. I'm Don. Wait a minute, that's totally wrong. I'm Don. It's late. I'm up. Hi. There we go. I got to keep the continuity alive. Let's check on the chat. Oh, Anthony Chabot. Hello, Donnie. By the way, did you watch my Have Cheatable Views interviews? I'm almost up to 1996 in my memoirs. Wow, that was a lot in there. First of all, don't call me Donnie. Secondly, no, I love you. Secondly, did you watch my Have Cheated with Views? Yeah, I did actually. I love Patrick. I've been on his show myself, as well as our friend Larry from Into House. And on May 5th, I don't know. I'll find the date for you guys and post it. Larry and I will be on Patrick's channel as Into House to watch You Should Have Killed Me, I believe. It's an independent film from a guy who's been real cool in the community, and he's popped up. He's been, done a couple interviews on Popping with Popcorn's channel, so be sure to check that out. But anyways, we're going to do a live watch along as a duo with Patrick. And yes, Anthony, I did watch you on there. I enjoyed your interview. I'm still curious why you're taking a mental health break from the library, but either way, yeah, I checked it out, and of course, my two guys, I had to look out for them. Queen Mayanne is here. Oh, wait a minute. I bumped up. Hey, there she is. Queen Mayanne is here. And then folks are saying there. Sean says, just stop in and say hello and drop that like, and just got done doing back-to-back watch party for Maniac Cop 1 and 2 with the Hatchet Boys. Yeah, I saw, when I was starting this, I saw Maniac Cop 2 was wrapping up. It was in my subscriptions feed. So, yeah, that's awesome that you and P. Rich are doing a lot of collabs together. I saw my boy Larry is going to be on your channel for Aliens Day. I don't know. I might have to contact you. It sounds like you already got a full panel, though, between Juno and Tex and all them. So I might just let Larry fly solo on that. But be sure to check out Friday. I believe it's Friday. Yeah, right after Into House on Cinephile Sanity Show. They'll be celebrating Aliens Day by watching Aliens. I'll probably be in the chat, I would imagine. He's up to 1996 in his memoirs. Though the 1996 was a good year. What was going on? Is that like when Tupac and Biggie were big and Kurt Cobain killed himself sometime around there? A lot going on there, a lot going on in that area. But anyways, thank you for dropping in, Sean. I appreciate it, buddy. Have a good night, everyone. You take it easy, Sean. That was cool. You dropped by and hit that like. You're the man. And then folks are saying good night to Sean. And I'll get back to what I was saying, which was talking about King Kong. This one is one of my all-time favorites because it was on late at night. And even as a child, the stop motion animation kind of, grabbed my mind the same way that like those, what are they called? Rankin and Bass, the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Frosty the Snowman and all that. That claymation was just so cool. And as a kid, like, seeing this Kong come to life and do Kong stuff, it was like giant ape, fascinated me as a child. So there's a lot of interpretations of this movie, so we'll have a lot to talk about. And there's a lot of film history in here. And as I mentioned, there was a handful of scenes that were pulled out because they were too dirty at the time. I thought we'd talk about that too. So yeah, there's a lot to get to with Kong. Hey, I see our friend Lamonia Demonia. King Kong ain't got shit on this stream. Hey, that's what I like to hear. And hey, everyone, Lamonia Demonia. Actually, I probably should have said poop. Whenever I see that little emoji, I my brain thinks the S word, but I just poop. I don't know. If anything was poop, it's that little cute guy. So anyways, yeah, our friend Lamonia Demonia is here. So, Night Owl Classic, fan of the channel. Friend of the channel, I should say, and a fan of the channel. She's a sweet person. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get this one started. It's an hour and 40 minutes, so 100 minutes to get through. I'm gonna be watching it on Max. It's streaming there, as well as the whole like Kong and Godzilla collection. So if you want to watch Son of Kong, you can see that there. If you want to watch the original Godzilla or all the Mothras and stuff, they're all on Max. I'm assuming they're Warner Brothers like distributed, so that's through them. But yeah, I'm going to watch this version tonight, and then perhaps I'll get to a different version on another day. But for now, I wanted to watch this one. Man says she has to go to bed soon. I know it's I started a little bit early tonight because of between black and white movies and the fact that if I go too late, hardly anybody's around to catch it. And when I fall in between my people falling asleep and the Brits getting up, yeah, it's those are dead streams. So I figured I better watch King Kong slightly earlier if anybody's going to join me. Lamonia says, no, stay up forever, May. Yeah, I agree. Stay awake until you get crazy like the people in the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. You know what I mean? Don't put cigarettes out on your arm, but coffee's fine. But yeah, let's go ahead and get this bad boy started. It's TVPG. There we see. So watch now. I'm pressing play. I don't know. Can you do that? There's the RKO Pictures logo. This movie, like I say, is primarily, when I was a kid, I thought it was cool because I really dug the claymation monster and the big giant monster going through the city and all that goes with that. But as I got older, I really only see the art now in this movie and the different interpretations of it. Like I say, there are many. Even in Inglourious Bastards, they make an interpretation of what this movie means. This was co-directed by Merian C Cooper and Ernest B Shadesack, I think his name, you pronounce it? I don't know. It's spelled very complicatedly. But they are primarily known for like making racist movies. Oh goodness, what's the name of the one they made? I can never pronounce it. Ingagi or Ingaji. It came out in 1930, and that was like a first version of a found footage film. They called it a hoax documentary. That sounds way more dirty than found footage, but yeah, they put out this fake documentary about this, like, people who travel to the deep dark jungles and they find savages there, and they insinuate that the jungle women are having sex with apes, and there's all sorts of like messed up racism in there. So that was number one at the box office in America, of course, bunch of bastards. So like in I don't know, when did it come out? Ingaji was 1930. Okay, so in 1930, yeah, it's obviously America was not as an accepting place. Oh, there we go. And lo, the beast looked upon the face of beauty, and it stayed its hand from killing, and from that day it was one dead. That's the quote that starts the film. I always thought it was interesting. They make it real like poetic at the beginning. I think they wanted to connect the Beauty and the Beast thing to it. But yeah, so that because these dudes made the #1 movie in America about jungle people and apes and stuff, they thought who better to do King Kong, right? So a lot of people interpret this that it has racial undertones. I actually don't think it does, but I'm a person who thinks that whatever you interpret from a film is what it means to you. It's like looking at a painting or something. If you see what you see and I see what I see, we're both right. That's our interpretation. We'll get to how I interpret the movie and why I would go to the trouble of getting the movie poster on my arm and all that. But that's plenty to get down to the road. I see some folks popping into the chat here. Mayan says, I stayed up yesterday. My daughter gets out of school early tomorrow, so I got to rest. Okay, Mayan, you are excused from class today, young lady. And we're going to miss you. You're a key party member to these chats. Our friend Echo Cero is here. King Kong and the Seven Dwarfs, he says. Welcome, Echo. Welcome. I was watching The Boneyard last night. Echo and Mr. Bones and the Ice Lord were watching Death Proof by Tarantino. So I popped in late and hung out at the end of the chat. But yeah, I enjoy me some Echo. Lamonia says the whole jungle monkey sex thing sounds kinky, right? Man calls Echo silly. I bet he's going to say something about mustard in a second. Hello, everyone. Echo's British now. I got this Blu-ray with the scenes they cut out when it was re-released in 1938. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. That's what we were talking about, too. We're going to keep an eye out for them when they pop up. I have the list of the stuff they took out and put back in, so we'll keep an eye on it. It was interesting to me that they took stuff out of it because the list of things that they pulled is all stuff that's pretty much in the Peter Jackson version. That's why the Peter Jackson version is like, 2 hours and 40 minutes, and this is 1 hour and 40 minutes. It's one of the problems that I don't like about the Peter Jackson movie. It's a far superior version, like as far as the effects and the cinematography and the acting. Acting in this is almost atrocious. But the Peter Jackson version is so damn long. Like whenever they show it on cable, it takes like 3 hours to watch on TNT. It's too long. I saw it in the theater. And I'm a big fan of the Alfred Hitchcock concept that the length of a movie should be proportionate to the size of the human bladder. So if you pee before you go in, you shouldn't have to pee before the movie's over. So I remember drinking the big giant cherry Coke and watching King Kong. And then somewhere around the hour and 50 mark, I'm like, I don't know. It seems like he's going to have to mess up New York a bit here. I don't know. Even now, like whatever, damn near 20 or 15 years later, I'm still like, ooh, that movie, I had to hold it for that one. Let's see here. So yeah, Echo, we'll be watching that version, the 100-minute version. This film starts off, it takes place, it's got, I always find that movies, you can kind of tell of an era, what the cultural like mentality was. So like, if a lot of movies made in the 80s, which are my favorite movies, are pretty heavily influenced by the Vietnam War. There's some connection to one of the characters being a vet or, just flat out movies about Vietnam, whatever. But, and then after 9/11, you can see a whole influx of 9/11 influenced movies. If, look at the damn zombie movies where society falls apart and look at the influx of superhero movies where someone comes and saves us. Not to mention all the war movies and all that or whatever. But this movie was made after the Great Depression, but before World War II. So there's this, the focus on how poor and bummed out everybody is. That's why Fay Wray, what's her name? Ann Darrow, thank you. Why Fay Wray is so desperate at the beginning. She'll take any job. So this is almost like a... the concept is movie making is new. So this is about people going to shoot a movie, which, like I say, connects to that, the racist one about the island. And, Ann Darrow is down on her luck actress who's looking for a big break. So she's willing to go to outrageous lengths. And then the whole concept of, what's his name? Carl Denham. I always want to call him Clarence Darrow. Carl Denham, the director, and just his desire to hit it big and go on this adventure and all of this stuff that the movie sets up from the beginning. You feel like you're in this era. I dig all these old cars and stuff. When you compare this to something of the time like Reefer Madness, I've seen a handful of times too. You can definitely see that just they're still doing almost silent films. Like talkies are still kind of new, so things look, I don't know, they don't look quite right yet. Although this version, the cinematography is really good. There's a lot of blown out lights. I notice lots of blingy reflections and things. Let's see here. People are still hanging out in the Chisette. Yeah, like I say, I first saw this in the middle of the night, and I was fascinated by the giant, monkey attacking everything and going through the city and smashing cars and stuff. There's nothing really like that. And even later, of course, an entire generation goes up on Jurassic Park and all that, so it's hard for them to relate to there not being good kaiju movies, but it was pretty much just Kong and Godzilla for like 40 years. Even Godzilla, the spin-offs like Mothra and Rodan and stuff, I never really quite got into them the same way as Kong and Godzilla. That's Superman and Batman, those are the biggies. So here we see Carl Denham, trying to romance Anne Darrow or try to convince her to, he thinks he's found an ingenue or whatever, an undiscovered talent. But you can see even with the volume down, the bad acting, everyone's still used to both silent films and stage acting. So when you do stage acting, you do everything very big and broad because, people need to see it, play to the cheap seats, as they say. So a lot of the acting is over, the eyes are too big and the actions of the people are very jumpy and, exaggerated because they act the same way they acted when they were on stage. That's why I don't like a lot of silent films. I find a lot of them are just people overacting way too hard because they haven't learned that the camera's pushed in on their face and just even the squint of an eye is all you need to emote. So a lot of these early films, that's kind of my complaint, is the overacting is sort of brutal. Yeah, so they're explaining that tomorrow they leave on a long sea voyage at 6 a.m. And she doesn't know what the hell's going on, but she's down because she's broke. But like I say, that's heavily influenced with the follow-up right after the Great Depression. The idea of struggling to get back onto your feet after you pretty much lost everything or their jobs all dried up and all that. So that affects the way society thinks, and that ends up in the movie because people can relate to it. But there's also, like I say, World War II comes after this. So there's still a lot of thoughts about racism and things that are attached to this movie because, like I say, the filmmakers had a racist past. But I never really take it that way. I always take it's supposed to be like an adventure. I think Cannibal Holocaust greatly kind of steals from this. In what's it called, in Naji or whatever, that. They also takes from that too. The idea that people have a feeling that things are more mystical in the jungle. People in general have the idea that things were more mystical in the past. Several thousand years ago, it was magical. So that's why a lot of movies that fantasy adventures look like they take place in the Middle Ages, and some people just have this weird feeling that we used to be more connected to magic as a culture, and then eventually with technology and stuff, the magic left us. So when the world isn't really quite discovered, yet, and there's all still parts of the globe people haven't traveled to, there was a presumption, the same way some people think Bigfoot's a thing. There's there could be a 3-story ape out there. We don't know. We've never been everywhere. It's yeah, at this point we kind of have with satellites and all that. But here we see Anne Darrow kind of flirting with the captain of the boat. I believe this is Bruce Cabot. Is that his name? Jack Driscoll, played by Bruce Cabot. Exactly. Oh no, the captain is Frank Riker. There you go. The Jack Driscoll's the other cat. He turns up in a minute. This whole bit where they go to Skull Island, it's sort of the classic Journey to Hell sort of thing, Apocalypse Now does it, and Sorcerer. I don't know. I see movies all the time that are basically a journey to hell. We have to get away from society and the comforts of everything, and then devolve, and madness sets in to the point where there are dinosaurs and stuff living on this island. It's crazy. So here's the another scene that people don't like. This kind of classic Asian stereotype of this cook. He's like a Chinese dude, and he's peeling potatoes, talking about how me go back to country. Like, I understand at the time, like I say, people were more racist and they had more like less comforting ideas. But this one in general, wow, look at Anne. Let's just say the turkey's done. All right. How come they didn't have to cut this scene out? The ocean air be getting to her. Yeah, Echo says he has this on Blu-ray with the scenes when they were cut out when it was re-released in 38. Yeah, this movie's been released multiple times. It was first came out in 1930, and it was a huge success. Obviously, it's King Kong. It's famous. So 9 months later, bump, Son of Kong comes out. So I always thought that was funny that they managed to get the sequel, Son of Kong, out 9 months. Although it's actually a prequel, which is weird. So far, before, this 1930 movie shows that there are found footage movies back then. That's nothing new. And prequels back then. And people just did whatever they could do. Like if, they figured out what was making money at the box office and they wanted to do something like that. So, all the stuff that goes on now went on then too. People don't change much. But yeah, they said the original one came out in 33, and then Son of Kong comes out 9 months later. And then there were like 2 other Kong films. What were they? Oh, that's right. And then there was the colorized version as well. Yeah, 1969 is when they made the print that we're seeing now with the stuff that they pulled out of it. The stuff that they took out is the brontosaurus mauling a crewman in the water. It's, when they get to Skull Island. And then when Kong undresses Andero, he sniffs his fingers while he's doing it. I don't know, whatever. And then Kong biting and stepping on some natives when he attacks a village. Kong biting a man in New York. Kong mistaking a sleeping woman for Anne and dropping her to death after he realizes his mistake. And then an additional scene with giant insects, spiders, and reptile-like predator that goes on when they're on Skull Island. Like I say, all of that stuff is in the Peter Jackson version. And then, oh boy. Man is still here, you liar. And she pops up and says, yeah, 9 months is usually what it takes. Exactly. Not if you're careful. That Lamonia with also some good sage advice. And Mayan's laughing. I knew Mayan couldn't leave us. She had to stay for these for King Kong talk. Where was I? I was trying to decipher the different various versions. Yeah, they made 2 sequels, as I recall. Yeah, here's the Wikipedia has a whole subsection on criticism of racism on it. The film has received significant honors. It was named one of the 50 best American films by American Film Institute. In 1991, a video game called Donkey Kong came out. It was deemed culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. That's a lot of words. By the Library of Congress, so it's in the National Film Registry. And then in 1998, the American Film Institute did this big, like 100 movies, 100 years thing. And they picked the 100 greatest films of all time. And this ranked number 43. However, I think it's interesting. This is the number 1 rated horror movie, or highest ranked horror movie on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know if this is quite a horror movie. I mean, I guess you could say that. It's one of the early monster movies, it and Land of the Lost and some other stuff. Let's see. Yeah, on the IMDb, they listed as adventure and horror. And that's one of the things that, like I said, when they were copying that other movie, why do I keep forgetting the name of it? Because it's a gibberish word to me. Inanji, I think it is. Yes, there it is. But anyways, the original concept of the women in the jungle, like women in peril, and a giant monster they thought was just box office gold, right? They were like, well, people will see that. And that's basically the same concept as the 80s horror movies craze, you know, like you have women in peril and a monster. It's moneymaker. Mayan points out she didn't say goodnight yet. Well, that's sweet of you. Well, thank you for hanging out either way. Yeah, like I was saying, there was when this first came out, and then Son of Kong came out after it, and then post-production, where is it? There's a bunch of stuff where they're arguing about whether or not the Kong was actually all stop motion, or if there was like a dude in a suit. Some people say no, but where is the list of other Kongs? All right, there we go. In 1984, this was one of the first movies ever made on Laserdisc, in part of the Criterion Collection. It was also the first movie to have an audio commentary track included. So there's some King Kong trivia for you. The commentary track on that was done by film historian Ron Haver. Then the Turner 60th Anniversary Edition in 1993, I believe that was the one that had the colorized version, and people were not happy with the colorized version. That was one of the first discussions of whether or not they should colorize these old black and white movies or not. And that Anniversary Edition had... Wow, I never saw this one. It featured a front cover that had the sound effect of Kong roaring when you pressed on his chest. So keep an eye out, or if somebody has that, be sure to post a short of it or something. I'd actually like to see that going. It also includes a 25-minute documentary called It Was Beauty That Killed the Beast. We'll get to that. The colorized version is available on DVD in the UK and Italy, but apparently not in America. Warner also re-released the black and white version in 98. And then in 2005, Peter Jackson made his remake. But when I was a kid, I saw the Dino De Laurentiis, Jeff Bridges, Jessica Lange version a bunch of times because it intrigued me how, like, not only were the people in it just kind of very 70s, like Jessica Lange is super hot, and the dude, you know, he looks very 70s. But the monkey in that is terrible. Like, it's one of the worst Kong portrayals. And then lots of times you'll see him just like sitting sadly in the bottom of a boat as Jessica Lange like kind of talks to him and stuff. But then they made a sequel to that, Kong Lives, or King Kong Lives. I think Tanya Roberts, is that her name? She was in it, but they often make fun of it. It's like, well, how are you going to make a sequel to a remake? So that movie was flopped, and it's considered like, you know, classic Mystery Science Theater trash. Like, it's more fun to watch and rip on than it is to actually try to see. And then the Peter Jackson version, like I say, is clearly the best King Kong movie. It looks beautiful. The acting is so much better. Peter Jackson's direction is just masterful, but it's just too long. There's no reason to add an hour to this. I think 2 hours is probably perfect. You go, holy crap, I don't mean to be a perv, but this HD version, yeah, she's very no bra for 1933, especially since they took out a bunch of stuff that was, you know, they thought was questionable, but is laughable by today's standards. To have her boobing out is wild. Let's see here. Oh, man, still threatening us with not leaving. These shots of the boat going through the fog are super cool. I think this kind of influenced John Carpenter's The Fog to a certain extent, because when they're getting to Skull Island, it's shrouded in fog, and when we cut to the boat, which is clearly a set, you don't have to see ocean view. You just see a fog machine, you know? For those of you just joining in or watching, we're at the 21:15 mark. So yeah, we're 20 minutes in. It's an hour and 40 minutes, 100 minutes. So the first act should be, well, let's see, 25 minutes. So I'm assuming they're going to get to Skull Island at the 25-minute mark. Let's see if I'm right. And then if it's 100 minutes by screenplay math, that means at the 50-minute mark, they should probably go to New York, because that's generally what you do. You break your movie in half, and you figure out that half of it's going to be the second act, and then the rest of it, the other half, is going to be your first and third acts. So if it's a 100-minute movie, 25, 50, 25. But somewhere around the middle point, there should be a plot twist, something new to introduce and keep the story going. So like I say, I bet you they get to New York right at the 50-minute mark. We'll keep an eye out for it. All right, so we faded to black, and we're at Skull Island. We're at 22, but they're still not getting to the boat yet. So I think we'll see if the math lands up perfectly or not. But boy, they're really using a lot of, this movie's famous because, well, for a lot of reasons, but it's much like Citizen Kane. It does a lot of stuff that becomes popular and people use forever, but it does it first and early on. So not only is this a claymation, masterpiece, and stop motion animation, I should say, masterpiece, but this movie uses a lot of rear projection. And that's where like you put a screen behind somebody and play a movie, and then whatever. Later on, they go with green screens and do like a chroma key kind of thing, the green screen, blue screen thing where they add whatever behind it later. This also uses a lot of Luma key, and that's where you drop out either black or white. So because obviously these weren't color films yet, so you couldn't drop out the green or the blue. But Kong in particular, the stop motion small thing, it was done by a guy, William O'Brien. He's basically Qui-Gon Jinn, because his apprentice is Ray Harryhausen. So Ray Harryhausen becomes like the king of stop motion animation. He does like everything for 40, 50 years. He's the man. And then, a lot of people grew up on Ray Harryhausen and then became the generation that I watched, the Tom Savinis and the Rick Baker and Rob Bottin, and, even the effects artists that did the Jurassic Park stuff, they all credit Ray Harryhausen as, their main influence. So this was done by Ray Harryhausen's teacher, his master. He was an apprentice. There's a really cool matte painting. Wow, and those are animated birds too. That's pretty cool. So we see the landing party, and the bottom of the screen is actual footage, and you can see the boat coming up onto shore. But then there's this giant set, like, it would cost, back then, it would break your movie to make a wall that big. But you see a giant skull on it and everything. That's one of the running gags that people talk about later on. How dumb is it that they built this huge fence to keep Kong in, but then they put doors big enough for King Kong to get through? So yeah, they've arrived at Skull Island, and what do you know? It's 24:50 on the thing. So they came up 10 seconds short. Let me guess, they'll get to the gate right now. There's the gate, and it's exactly 25 seconds. There you go. Traditionally, they tell you to go with a fade to black after the first act, and then after the second act, another fade to black. Not people quit doing that a long time ago, but that used to be the almost like intermission or whatever, psychological intermission. Here's the first act. We've met everybody. We've seen what they do. We've learned about them. Then it fades to black, and then the story they're in starts, and with their adventure and whatever they're trying to accomplish, whatever their MacGuffin is or whatever. And then it fades to black, and we go to the third act where we wrap everything up and send everybody home. Like I say, this is like Citizen Kane. It's a huge, influential, like early movie that everything else follows the template of, because it was such a massive success. But I do like that the movie is about a film crew going on an adventure. It's like almost self-referential. I'm curious if any of you in the chat or folks watching later put it in the comments. Have you seen this 1933 version, or does black and white not do it for you? A lot of folks can't do black and white. Like I say, I had my first TV was a black and white TV, so I'm used to it. I appreciate black and white because of the, as they say, black and white's really good for textures and composition, like because of the lighting and everything, and then things look like you can feel them better. As where color is just, that's kind of the standard that we all go by because our eyes see in color. So it feels weird to look at something that's in black and white. Wow, I never noticed the woman that they make. Basically, when they arrive at Skull Island, there's a bunch of folks, a bunch of natives, and they're all dressed up, with the crazy outfits and the feathers around the neck and, war paint and everything. And they're having this big Kong ceremony, and they have a woman that they're going to sacrifice to Kong. Well, there's no air quotes. They do sacrifice to her. But I never noticed before, she got the same flower makeup get up as the woman in Midsummer. So I never noticed Midsummer is kind of paying a bit of a tribute to this early scene in Kong. Yeah, there it is. The giant fence big enough to hold Kong, but with giant doors on it. Make people-sized doors. Problem solved. Okay, Mayan says, okay, now she's leaving. Good night, Don and Chet. Good night, Mayan. You are awesome. Thank you for hanging out. She blows us all kisses. Kisses to you, too, forever, Queen. Hey, Big Don, Echo Man, Lay. Our friend Russell is here. Russell's awesome. He always turns up, and Russell's the YouTube master. If you need to look for a movie, he will know if it's on YouTube or not. People are saying good night to Mayan, which they should. She's awesome. Turn that off. So here we see this, huge sort of sacrificial celebration. I mean, they've got 100, 200 people for this. So, and a bunch of them are dressed up as Kong in like original monkey suits. They look absurd. And the film crew knows it's like there's a juxtaposition. We cut to the people, the native tribe, and they're all dark-skinned, every single one of them. Although there's a dude who looks white mixed in with them. Interesting. But then we cut back to the film crew and the people we went on this adventure with, and they're all white. Yeah, here's the captain when he comes out, and he's like, "How? Bala kum no hi." All right, bro. This feels a lot like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. That's also primarily based on Gunga Din. Like, if you've ever seen Gunga Din, which is another black and white movie with Cary Grant, that has a lot of that in it. The whole plot with the thuggy and everything, that's all in Gunga Din. But this scene here where the outsiders show up to a civilization they know nothing about, and all the people seem to all be out for one big celebration. It's like nobody's at home right now. And they've all got war paint on and these crazy like outfits with feathers and this. I wonder how much this cost. That's interesting. Let's find out. What's the budget? Because like I say, the budget was $672,000. Wow. This is a budget I've never seen before. This is amazing. The budget was $672,254.75. Now that's a budget. Wow. $672,254.75. And then it says the box office was $5.3 million. I believe later on that's across all of its box office totals because it's obviously re-released several times. Like I say, it came out in 33, but then they took a bunch of stuff out of it that they thought was a bit dirty for the times. And then they re-released that version. And then later on, they found all the original print that had the quote dirty stuff in it and put that back in. And then they re-released it again, I think prior maybe to the Dino De Laurentiis version. Dude is scary as hell. Like the leader of the tribe on Skull Island, he's scarier than Kong. This is a horror movie. Never mind. As I said, this is the Rotten Tomatoes lists this as their number one rated horror movie. On IMDb, it's rated 7.9 out of 10 with less than 100,000 people voting on it. So that's why I kind of asked you guys in the chat and watching along later if you've ever seen this, because I think it's a movie so many people know and they recognize the imagery of and stuff, but they've never actually watched it, you know? I would even tell people if you were going to watch this, watch the Peter Jackson version. Just make sure you have a way to pee during the commercials or when you pause it. Huh. So yeah, now they've gone back to the boat for the night because obviously they don't feel safe sleeping on Skull Island. I think that'll tip you off right away. Yeah, so this is Bruce Cabot, and him and Ann Darrow were kind of falling in love. But he's classic, like he's barely paying attention to her, even though he's a sailor who's been at sea this whole time. And it's like it's pretty much her or the native lady that's going to get sacrificed. But instead, he's just too cool for school. He's like, "Yeah, girl." So there, she even points out about having a woman on board, but he's troubled because he's scared for her. Like, I don't blame him. Um, let's see here. People are saying goodnight to May. Grew up with black and white horror films. Yeah, I knew Russell did. Russell and I had a lot of the same experiences watching stuff early on. He's of that same era where the in the middle of the night, the black and white movie reigned supreme. Even though color television and color was everything, all the movies were color. These black and white movies were on in the middle of the night. So I've seen all this stuff. Love the Peter Jackson King Kong. Yeah, see, that's the thing. That one is the best version, just on every technical aspect and everything. Damn, so he went from not caring to giving her the smooch, the dip where she like leans back, that kiss, like a double mint gum commercial. So yeah, they're already in love. This took a quick turn. Hey, remember how I met you last night? Yeah. All right. Well, you're my new man. You're my beau, see? Yeah, that's what this movie needs. It needs more people who are like, the problem with a dame like you is the gams. We need that character real bad. What are you giving me the eyeballs for, Trixie? Don't make me pull out a heater. Like I was saying, the movie itself is open to interpretation. I think all films are open to interpretation, but this one, a lot of people interpret it because of the dude who made it having a racist background. Yeah, here's where the savages, the natives, whatever you want to call them, come. They take their canoes and they go out to the boat and they kidnap Fay Wray off the boat. So then they end up using her as like a sacrifice, or at least they're going to plan to. But yeah, they just snatched her right off the boat while the rest of the dudes on the boat just didn't even pay attention. You guys, less drinking, more keeping an eye on the only woman on the boat. What the hell's the matter with you? Like I say, all things are films are open to interpretation. The themes, the story, everything. What you take away from it. It's weird. One of my favorite movies is Room 237. I know a lot of people who straight up hate that movie, but that movie makes the case that different people see different things. Or it means different stuff to different people, so therefore different folks take away different things. So this, in general, is like I say, because of the racial tones at the time and the kind of racist background of the people who made it. It's often presumed that Kong himself represents black people, the African Americans. They're taken from the jungle and brought to civilization, and they run amok and all this. But I would make the case that if that's it, then it's a non-racist movie because it makes the point that Kong is a misunderstood monster, much like Frankenstein's monster or Beast from Beauty and the Beast. And that's what this movie's often compared to, as a better version of Beauty and the Beast, or at least better by my standards. The same themes are there, where a beautiful woman meets a monster, and the monster, she sees the monster for what it really is. I dislike Beauty and the Beast because it also kind of sends the message like, you can fix him, girl. Yeah, he's a monster today, but a little bit of love, he'll be fine. It's like, no, that really doesn't work. He'll turn into a beautiful prince if you just treat him right. But this makes, the case of that And the reason what I take from it, the interpretation I've got from since I was a child and what most people interpret it as, is that Kong itself represents man and man's love. So, like, the idea being that Kong is the ultimate monster. We live in a society that well, it doesn't ask you, it tells you the only way you can get ahead is to smash what's in front of you, to, be number one, be the king, King Kong. You have to step on little people. You have to take what's yours and protect things, and everything's just roar. So we train our men in particular, especially back then in the 30s. This is a lot of like gender stereotype stuff. So if that offends you, please just ride with me here on this. But it takes the idea that, this big, strong, dumb smash guy goes through his whole life with just, and then he meets a beautiful woman and she's like a flower to him. And finally he knows happiness, and finally he knows, love. He's seen something beautiful instead of always seeing, other monsters and people trying to attack him and manipulate him, and him as having to be, a monster. He learns to care. And the film itself plays to does caring make you weaker? Because ultimately that's his downfall. At the end of the movie, the last line is, "'Twas beauty that killed the beast." His affection for Fay Wray is ultimately what made him so weak. He was susceptible to death. But this movie has a lot of like giant hand scenes, like with Fay Wray being in the palm of Kong's hand and everything. And I think to me, that's like a very poetic and beautiful metaphor going along with what I'm saying with this Beauty and the Beast thing, where he picks her up and his whole life, his fist is used to smash or to crush. But now he wants to protect this little beautiful sweet flower he's found, and he holds it in his hand and protects it. But at the same time, at any point, he could squish her like a grape. So the protection he provides is also like possibly something that could hurt her. So like that's her safe place to be safe, but that's also like a danger to her. Sorry, they're doing the thing where they're getting Fay Wray ready for the sacrifice to Kong, and there's this huge like jungle. The natives are going restless with these torches, and they're opening up the doors so Kong can come out. It's like this amazing, iconic scene. It looks a lot like, I believe it's Saboteur, the Hitchcock film, where they take all these overhead shots of umbrellas in the rain, and you see them part as someone walks through. They're doing the same thing here, except with torches. Yeah, this is all fantastic. The budget on this, it's almost like Wizard of Oz level. Like it's the mass amount of humanity is what's making it epic, not so much everything else. Although these scenes, the set pieces are pretty amazing. This movie was banned in Germany during the whole Nazi regime, although they say Hitler loved it and watched it a bunch of times. But because of the racist interpretation that Kong is black and she's white, that this is pro-interracial, and the Nazis were not having any of that. Yeah, the acting is really bad. Even with it muted, Fay Wray is just like over emoting so heavily, but not like genuinely crying for fear. She just sort of like causing a big fuss. Although that scene, she's clearly a dummy. Like after they tie her up and they all walk away, she stays completely still, like crucified, as a sacrifice, but she never moves. So clearly that's a dummy in that shot. The jungle natives close the big door and put the lock on it. Why is the door that big? It doesn't need to be that big. It can be human size, not Kong size. You guys are terrible at this. But this is all, wow. I don't remember any of this from when I was a kid. Everyone who was in that huge cast ensemble before is now all up on the giant wall along the top of it. And they're all holding torches and dancing and, singing for Kong to come. And this is where they bang the giant gong, a king gong, if you will. Once again, this is like I think this is probably part matte painting, part, like double in the bottom left-hand corner, like a Luma King, or as I was saying before. In the bottom left-hand corner, there's Fay Wray, and she's live action. And then the wall itself, like clearly is a matte painting. It looks relatively fake. But then on top of it is a line of people all dancing and celebrating, which I'm guessing is some sort of overlay. You can even see the platform underneath them. But if you didn't know what you were looking for, this would be, kind of amazing to see. Yeah, this witch doctor is total Indiana Jones and Temple of the Doom. Yeah, I'm caught up in watching this scene because I know Kong's coming. Been there, done that. Spirits and Screams. Hey, Karen's here. Hey, guys, I remember watching this one on TV as a kid at my grandparents'. A classic. Welcome, Karen. I was caught off guard. I'm still not used to your new name yet. But Karen is a great creator. I would recommend you check out that Spirits and Screams channel. She's all of our friends who you know from the chat have been on her channel. She's a lover of horror and all sorts of movies. So here's Kong. Yeah, once again, this is looks like a Luma Key deal. She's in the foreground, and it's pretty clear. And then Kong is a projection, probably. Maybe that's what it is. It's probably rear projection, I bet. The wide shots are animated, the stop motion, and then the close-ups of his face are a giant animatronic. So yeah, this is all claymation, and it looks kind of weird and crazy, and he's... Yeah, I like how he blinks and stuff. Just there's so much detail in it. And his eyebrows, the way they raise and stuff. I'm sure it's absurd to modern audiences. We're used to CGI, but CGI is far from perfect as well. Hey, Lamonia, you can call me Karen. Yeah, folks are welcome, our buddy Karen. Yeah, Karen's fantastic. I've been meaning to collaborate with her on something, some point. She's a cool chick, man. So now these idiots on the boat have realized that the only woman aboard has been kidnapped by the local savages, and they're going to go run and save her using their guns and whatnot. Wow, I never noticed she's claymation there. That's cool. Kong has her in his hand, as I was saying. He carries the little flower to protect it. And she's like waving her arms, man. It looks kind of like Mr. Bill. Sort of amazing. Anyways, yeah, so as I pointed out earlier, I have this tattoo of Kong that I got. It's basically the movie poster. And one of the things I've always liked about it is the improper aspect ratio to it. And that's how the poster itself is. This is that symbol that I showed is the thumbnail for this episode. And the proportions are wrong. By the proportions, according to this, Kong would be like, I don't know, he's 10 times the size of the Empire State Building, or at least like 5 times the size of the Empire State Building. As we're in the movie, he's like, I think 30 feet tall. One of the things with Kong is every time they remake it, they frequently jack up his size. When they wanted him to fight Godzilla, who was much, much bigger, like I say, Kong is only like 30 feet, something like that. When it's time to fight Godzilla, suddenly he's the same size as Godzilla. And when they did that new King Kong Skull Island and the Kong versus Godzilla movie, Godzilla versus Kong, whatever. In that whole thing, they've got him as like huge. He's the size of a building as opposed to just a few stories. Karen says, we will soon, Don. Yeah, I know. We do need to work that out, Karen. Especially if you're down with these middle of the night deals. Holy mackerel. There we go. So we see the giant Kong footprint in the dirt, and everybody's kind of dumbfounded with their stupidity. So yeah, they're traipsing through the jungle, and it looks like an episode of Gilligan's Island. All the plants look like they were bought from, they're like plastic plants bought from Walmart or something. Back then, Sears and Roebuck. We went down to the 5 and dime, see? I had a malted, I took my best gal. So there's a Stegosaurus. Um, that's one of the things about Skull Island that I guess makes sense, but doesn't to me. It's a land of the lost, so there's dinosaurs there and stuff. And I guess that's part of what they say Kong is. It's some sort of like prehistoric creature that must have survived through the ages or whatever. But yeah, the Stegosaurus, it looks to me to be a rear projection. The people up front in the foreground are looking at a giant movie screen. And the Stegosaurus, they throw like a Molotov cocktail grenade at him, and he spins around 3 times and dies. It looks like a bad 8-bit video game. Sort of amazing. Yeah. Speaking of video games, obviously Donkey Kong is based on King Kong. The idea of a monster that grabs this woman and climbs to the top of a building, and the hero has to make it to the top to defeat the monster. But like I say, I don't think it's fair to call Kong a monster. It's like calling Frankenstein's monster a monster, or the Beast from Beauty and the Beast a monster. It's like it's more just the ignorance of the folks who are attacking it more than it is actually the villainous act by the creature. Although, like I say, in this one, especially with the scenes put back in, there were what were the list of scenes? There we go. The Brontosaurus mauling a crewman in the water and chasing up a tree and then killing him. I haven't seen that yet, so I think that might be still coming, but this is a Stegosaurus, so don't make me get in an argument with dinosaur races on Wikipedia. Dinosaur, eh? It's a prehistoric beast. Yeah, and this is all clearly rear projection. We see these 2 fools walking along the bottom, and it's clearly a movie playing behind them, primarily because the movie in back isn't as in focus as the people up front, no matter how close things are to them. He's still alive. We're after Anne. Come on, man. So yeah, like I say, there's a whole all the stuff they took away is Kong biting and stepping on natives when he attacks the village. He bites a man in New York. He picks up a woman that he thinks is Anne and then drops her, and she dies. So here they've traipsed through the jungle. One of the things I didn't like about the Peter Jackson version, and the reason I think it's too long, he fights, 2 dinosaurs, or the dinosaur and then the crocodile, I think maybe. And it's very repetitive. I think you can kind of just show there are other monsters around and have them only have 1 fight, but they were really proud of the CGI advancements at that point. That's him splashing through. Come on, fellas. Yeah, see? Give him the old 23 skidoo. Pull a Roscoe on him. Yeah, see? He must have swum across. What are you talking about? Good idea. We'll make a raft. Come on, fellas, get busy. So you guys are going to build an entire raft. You realize she's dead by now, right? There, set, shove off. Where was I? So the movie stars, usually it's about time we talk about some of the folks in the movie. The movie stars Fay Wray. There we go. Why am I getting Fay Wray to take so long? She worked from 1907, or she was alive from 1907 to 2004. So she's a trooper. She started in her teens. Okay, that's why. She was in 126 movies, or has 126 credits. Primarily, she was in the Schlitz Playhouse. She did 2 episodes of Alfred Hitchcock Presents. So I like her. She's a fun dame. Wow, lots of classic posters here. Yeesh. Yeah, her first film was in 1923, a Speed Bugs, a short. And then, just a bunch of short films, primarily because in the 20s, they would make movies for what were called Nickelodeons, like the channel. And people would go in and put coins into a thing, and they put their eyes into it, and they'd crank the machine, and the animated, frames, 24 frames per second would fly by. So a lot of stuff, the studio system as we know it, movies as we know them, don't start until like almost around the time this starts. It's in the late 20s after the post-depression stuff. Um, the Actually, I should say in the 20s, the various studios popped up, but they weren't making feature films until. Okay, so there's the brontosaurus. Yep, he sure as hell did bite that guy and pick him up and chew him and then drop him in the water. That was kind of awesome. Yeah, that's better than some of the stuff I've seen on the Sci-Fi Channel originals. And then it reached in and grabbed him again and tossed him. Hilarious. This brontosaurus, I do know that many people think this is the influence for the Loch Ness monster. It's this long-necked creature, in the water, and they think that, like a lot of urban legends, Kong, I wouldn't be surprised, is actually a big influence on the Bigfoot concept. But the Loch Ness monster, a lot of people see this when they were at a young age, and then they go out to a lake and it's at night, or they see something weird, and their brain immediately is like, oh, it's like that thing I saw in King Kong. What is it? The Close Encounters of the Third Kind. For like all through the 50s, aliens, the portrayals of aliens and stuff were like, the Martians in Mars Attacks, or like they were like tentacled beasts, or in Thing from Another Planet, it's like a vegetable carrot monster, but he's a big, huge, giant man-looking thing. But in the late 60s, I think it was, these Betty and Barney something or other saw the UFO sighting, and their description was the Greys as we know them. And then when Close Encounters of the Third Kind came out, its depiction of aliens was the Greys. So the big black eyes, small mouth, little tiny nose, big head, the alien emoji on your phone. And after Close Encounters, virtually all reports of aliens or people who have been abducted or whatever, they go with the Close Encounter alien. But prior to Close Encounters, like aliens that people supposedly saw were anything anybody could think of. Lots of octopus and tentacles and stuff. So there, the giant brontosaurus eats another dude out of a tree. This looks like the beginning of Pee-wee's Playhouse. All stop motion, shaking his head with a little body in there wiggling. Yeah, I guess this is horror. I guess. And there's Kong with Fay Wray, and she's claymation, or stop motion. I gotta quit being so disrespectful when I say claymation. Claymation's like a childish form. This is stop motion. This is much more highbrow. I can't believe it's like the middle of a hot, sweaty jungle, and like 2 out of every 3 sailors is wearing a turtleneck. Lots of BO on Skull Island. So there, Kong hides Fay Wray in a tree stump and then goes off to smash everything. Hulk smash. Echo Killer Carolyn of the 7 talking birds named Jeff. That was crazy. I think he's talking about God only knows what Echo's talking about. So yeah, here's more rear projection stuff and a matte painting. Wow, a lot going on here. So there's a set up front, and the actors are kind of walking on it and climbing down it, and then behind it you can see Kong coming in, and he's all stop motion. So yeah, it's rear projection. But they're all trying to sit on a log and hide from him, and Kong just picks up the log and throws it in a valley. Yep, there's all a bunch of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. They go crashing down into this canyon. Yeah, I never realized how much of that is in here. People get, wow, yeah, another crewman just plummets to his death into this big canyon. That looked wild. And there goes 2 more. Bang, bang. Hilarious. They're just dropping dummies from like 40 feet in the sky and just letting them bounce around. It looks awesome. Yeah, as a kid, I remember this being a violent movie or like a scary monster movie, but it was also comical because of the stop motion Kong stuff. But as I watch this now, I could see how people would scream in the theaters, especially in the 20s. Ooh, another dude just plummeted to his death. What's the death toll on this movie? Damn, I'll find out real quick here. I see Ginger Ninjas here, but let me check the death toll of King Kong. Kill count, King Kong. Oh, wow. All right, 1933. The Stegosaurus. So we got a sailor, a sailor, a sailor, a sailor. Oh, there's a bunch of these people. They're never mind. The Kong lists of death on the list of death fandom of King Kong was just a mess. Don't frequent those people. There's of course Dead Meat doing a bunch of that. And then there's the Titanus Kong. Forget that. Oh, and then here's a list of 571, but that's in the total King Kong franchise. That's ridiculous. Anyways, where was I? Sailors, namely the older ones, were a tough lot. They could handle the heat, even dressed in 7 sweaters. He's going back to that 7 thing. The best King Kong impression as I enter the chat. That is a great one. Welcome, our friend Jason Jinja Ninja is here. This is like I said, if any of you have seen this before, be sure to let me know in the chat. I'm wondering if this is the first time any of y'all have ever heard anybody watch the 33 one, or if you're familiar with it. Obviously, Echo has if he has the Blu-ray. There's more cool rear projection. There's a set up front with a little cave in it, and we see Bruce Cabot hiding in the cave. But then behind it, you see Kong fighting a Tyrannosaurus, and it's all being projected. This format appears to be larger than 4x3. Interesting. They all have hickeys on their necks, and they're hiding them with the turtlenecks. Well, they've been out at sea for a long time, and they're so jaded they don't even notice the only woman on board is gone. Hey, hope you all are well. What, Echo? You nut? I watched your live earlier. I'm glad you're all living it up late night. I miss you all. Welcome, Ginger Ninja. High Spirits and Screams. Let's see here. I'm going to get to the bottom of this. How many people die in King Kong? 17 people. The extended cut shows another 3 crewmen eaten by the Pteranodon. Ooh, I think I've found a movie for me to be in. Pteranodon, coming soon. The crewmen eaten by the Pteranodon in the swamp, totaling 18. Denham states in his presentation of King of the Kong in New York that 17 were killed. So actually there's a discrepancy. Fascinating. All right. So yeah, apparently 18 people die in this. That's more than a Friday the 13th movie. So all of this stuff with Kong fighting these different monsters, we've seen, 3 different monster fights already, like kaiju battles or whatever. And that's what I thought the part that was really stretched out in the Peter Jackson version is a little too much monster on monster action. But no, call now, and you'll see a live Tyrannosaurus with a huge gonad sack getting punched in the face by a stop motion carpet. That was nice. He grabbed him with like a headlock, and then he pulled his mouth shut, and then kind of like put him in like a front face lock chancery. I need MMA announcers to do this fight. Now Kong's on his back, and he's choking him out. He's got him in like a sleeper. This is like how everybody used to fight Andre the Giant. And then here's the thing that they do in the Peter Jackson movie so well, where he grabs the Tyrannosaurus Rex and he pulls its jaw apart and rips its mandible off its skull. Yeah, that's wild. For 1933, that's crazy. And how is that okay, but Kong sniffing his fingers after he touched the woman not? I mean, I know why, but most people don't know why. Give me a break. Russell says, good day to Jason. Going to be cutting back on things, Karen, for a while. I got things we'll help him do in my hometown next summer. Yes, for those of you who are big fans of Echo, make sure to check out his past catalog. And if you're following him and he doesn't make anything for a while, don't unsubscribe or nothing. He's taking a little break, but there's the classic scene where Fay Wray's underneath the log and her legs are pinned, and Kong looks down and sees her, and he gets like a big, like, yeah, he's digging that. Well, that's pretty good stop motion there. When she's calling out from underneath the rock and he picks her up, and then now we can see the animatronic Kong head and her and the hand. I saw this a long time ago, recorded off of TV over Halloween. The channel was on, did a classic horror night at 3 a.m. or something with Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, and the Mummy. Yeah, exactly, Jason. That's what I was saying. That's how I first became a fan of it, or I first saw it. is it would be grouped together as a monster movie, you know, Creature from the Black Lagoon, The Mummy, all that stuff. And Dracula, you know what I mean? There's nothing to, Kong and Dracula have nothing to do with one another, but it's just black and white horror, white zombie with Bela Lugosi or something. But these would always be like, I would always watch the midnight movie late at night. And as I was saying, there were lots of black and white films back then because they were super cheap properties to buy and show on a TV station late at night. But it's good. I mean, it's like, I'm glad I had that upbringing because I don't look down on black and white films. I actually kind of appreciate them for what they are. And it feels, when modern movies go black and white, it mildly annoys me because I know that they're basically trying to say this is an old-timey movie, so that's why it's black and white. But when these actual old-timey movies that are in black and white, I don't know, it feels like watching film history before your eyes and seeing the evolution of, you know, special effects, acting, cinematography, cameras, technology, you know, all of it. It's all there. Even the way society behaves, you know, the early films, you know, offensive here is Kong picking up Fay Wray and then smelling his fingers. You know, nowadays it's like you know, God only knows what he would do to smell his fingers. Wow, that was kind of cool. They do the rear projection thing where they have this jungle scene set up, and then Bruce Cabot kind of walks through the jungle and he comes out behind a tree. And when he comes out behind the tree, he's a stop motion guy walking up to the stop motion dead Tyrannosaurus Rex. I didn't realize how many people were stop motion in this. I knew the monsters were, but I'd never really noticed the little, I mean, that's probably the HD transfer. When I was a kid, I watched this, you know, black and white TV, half asleep at 480p or 360p or whatever the hell it was back then. I'm pretty sure the first TV I had when I was a little kid had rabbit ears on it. Yeah, it did, because cable didn't really come out for like until I was like 6 or 7. So yeah, the early viewings of this was a rabbit ears flick. Something out of Chicago, probably either Channel 9 or Channel 32. So now all the sailors are standing around having a powwow trying to figure out how they're going to get their woman back. Outlander! Outlander, we have your woman! Shout out to Children of the Corn. Let's see here. G'day, Russell. Echo says he'll be doing 1 or 2 videos a week instead of 3 outside of House of Horrors and no live stream. Oh, so Echo ain't really going nowhere. He's just going to cut back heavily. That's cool. Yeah, make sure you keep doing your reviews, and then the live videos. You could probably still game at night if you wanted to. I don't know. I'm not trying to tell Echo what to do. Totally cool, Echo. Family and friends come first, but sure, don't go away forever, my friend. We got to do a live stream for her. She misses their watch parties. Yeah. Spirits and Screams and Echo Cero have collabed on a bunch of stuff. I think maybe that's how I first found Karen. Actually, I think I first found Karen through Rob's Vintage Video, and I mention him all the time. That's my guy. I wish Rob would come back. And she would pop up in his chats, and when I checked out her channel and found more, grew my community of like-minded folks who I enjoy so much. Man, that stop motion King Kong has hair with body and shine. It's like silky smooth. He needs a Pantene commercial. All right, so this appears to be foreground a set, background rear projection, but then a fog machine in between the rear projection and the set, because it kind of like clouds up the screen. A lot of the early effects in this, if you haven't noticed, are fascinating the hell out of me because they solve so many problems. You know, if you took a beginning filmmaker and you gave him a camera and said, figure out how to make King Kong, they'd be screwed. But by 1930, they'd already figured this out. Oh, the snake. Yeah, he takes her and he sets her in this little cave, and you know, so he can go off and do Kong stuff. I think he's going to find food or something. And when he turns around, there's like this giant boa constrictor snake thing. Is that the Piranhasaurus? And the giant snake thing is starting to attack her, and then him and Kong get into it. And of course, Bruce Cabot is just useless. He's just up in the foreground. That's one of the things that bothers me about this is obviously, Fay Wray and Kong have this, he loves her and she loves him, but they can't be together because she's a petite woman and he's a 3-story ape. It's a star-crossed love relationship there. But the other guy is just like a cocky dude and he ends up with the chick at the end. You know what I mean? Like this, he's done nothing to earn her love. He's just like the next guy available. Oh, let's see here. Might do behind the scene videos on No More Monsters. Awesome. Echo says Rob is the man. Yeah, we all love Rob's vintage video. Rob is super cool. Don, you and the gang are also awesome. I feel blessed to have met you all. That's how I feel too, Karen. I often tell the story of I first started watching Rob's vintage video, and that's how I met Echo and the Professor and Video Tasties, and between Video Tasties and Rob's vintage video is how I met Horror Cat Dad. And, he's like one of my main dudes. I talk with him at least once a day. And then, I from these other folks, that's where I met you as Rob's vintage video, I believe. Popping the Popcorn, Katie, I met there. And then, Katie was the first person who talked me into doing live streams. So I met a lot of her friends, Cal L. Daly. And I think Cinephile Sanity is probably where I discovered him back when he was Sean Blue Digital. And then the Sean Blue Digital crowd is like a whole separate group of folks that I really dig. Mikey's Morgue, Russell in the chat. I think Cinephile is probably where I first met Ginger Ninja. Although Carrie Craves Cinema had Ginger Ninja in one of her videos, and I think I might have followed him after seeing that. But it's amazing, like I can retrack my footsteps on all my friends on here, where they came from. Lamonia turned up in my chat one time, and then later on I realized she was always on the Boneyard. I just kept missing her. Wow, so now Fay Wray's a doll. That's fascinating. They cut to the Kong, and he's stop motion, and yeah, here's the part where he pulls off her dress, like the bottom of her skirt, and kind of looks at it, and he sniffs his finger. But it's like supposed to clearly be perfume, you pervs. And there's less sexiness with him pulling off her clothes than there was with her nipping out on the boat. Looked like she's smuggling raisins to Skull Island. But she does have that like very popular one shoulder, off the shoulder fancy look. Really, he's helping her out. Kong's a stylist. Welcome to the Oscars. Who did you dress tonight? King Kong. Ginger says he needs to do more lives. They're fun, but it's still not something I'm fully comfortable with. Yeah, it took me, like I say, a long time. It was Katie talked me into doing it. And then Video Tasties, he invited me on to watch Invasion USA. Yeah, so there he is. He kind of touches her and he goes, like, yeah, I think that's just perfume, you pervs. But doing those live streams, especially some of them where she would have 4 and 5 people on, it would be a very party, fun atmosphere. Same with Wes, the Ice Lord. He does the 9th Circle on Friday nights. And one time I was on a 9th Circle that like went for, I don't know, 8 hours or some shit. So yeah, once you kind of get used to the live streaming and get more comfortable with it. But I went a long time where I had no interest in live streaming. I just wanted to, because I like video editing. I like cutting things together. I like adding music. I like, giving shot composition thought. This I give some composition thought to. I try to do the triangle things and I try to center myself and put, mic visible and all that. But it's pretty much just turn on the lights and go. Start talking, boy. And I kind of often go with the, I took some radio, television, film classes when I was in college. So some of the radio training I have, it trains me that if there's any dead air, that people are tuned out. So just try to keep a constant stream of consciousness flowing at all times. Because if you just sit there sort of dumbfounded, people are going to be like, is this security camera footage? What the hell's going on? Okay, so now Kong has fought a Stegosaurus, a Tyrannosaurus, some sort of snake thing with legs. I don't know. And then just now he plucked a pterodactyl out of the sky and he's eating it like ribs, which I could dig. I could go for some barbecued pterodactyl. That sounds delicious. There you can see the seam in the screen on the rear projection when they're at the 111.40 or 35 mark or so. Well, there it is, 111.46. When they're lowering down on the rope, the background in the distance, the sunset that you can see, the beautiful, wow, that is a really nice shot. The beautiful screenery in the background, you can see like the seam in the two screens sewn together where they're projecting on. Looks kind of terrible, but that shot looks great. It's Kong on a cliff, and he's pulling the little claymation people back up on the rope they were trying to escape from. And then they both let go and plummet to the ocean below. And we cut to a shot of people swimming. Wow, they're doing a lot of early innovative special effects stuff for 1933. I'm constantly impressed. And what do we have here? Yeah. I'm sorry, you get one of these. Mr. Bones is here. Yeah, I do none of that. Although I just point and shoot and hope for the best. Yeah, that's about it. I know it's a lot of folks, the thing they dig about live streaming or watching live streaming is people's reactions. So I guess theoretically, some folks do like to just see you sit here and watch. But even then, that much quiet gets on my nerves. I'm not feeling it. So the crew, unable to rescue Ann Darrow, just decides the best thing to do is go back to the big gate and sit on their asses with the giant King Kong-sized door open. It's like, why don't you guys close the big King Kong-sized door? This whole movie could have been, everything could have been solved before we even got started. So old buddy and Fay Wray swim out of the ocean, and they're running back to the gate. And like, hey, Captain, Mr. Denham's coming. Cool, close the giant King Kong-sized doors. WTF, bro. Russell says, hey, Bones. Them Bones, Mr. Bones. Yeah, Mr. Bones, we were just talking about you earlier about last night's stream of Death Proof. Mr. Bones, he does a fun live presentation. He does like wrestling intros. So when his favorite folks in the chat pop up, they have like little intros that he'll play. So when I come on, it's the Rob Zombie, yeah. And when Professor Macabro comes up, he's like, greetings and salutations. And Swamp Kitty for Erica. So yeah, everybody's got their own little theme music Titantron introduction thing on Bones channel. It's pretty dope. So here's where Carl Denham figures out that Kong wants Fay Wray, and he's going to use her as bait to catch Kong and take him back to the real world. And it's supposed to show like his desperation and kind of like he represents corporate greed or whatever, where you don't care about people. You just the end results of making money. What the hell? Apparently the giant gong, the king gong, if you will, the giant gong can't be really hit. It's probably just a fake prop. Maybe it's paper mache or something. And they show old buddy swing the big gong, the drumstick to hit it, but he's like hitting it like he's intentionally trying not to break the set. Folks are saying hello to Bones. Bones says hello, peoples. Are you a college boy? RoboCop. Swamp Kitty, Swamp Kitty. Yeah, exactly. Bones be setting it off. Roll that Swamp Kitty. Yeah. Oh, there goes my damn hammy. Oh. Push that pussy. Yeah. Don't make me do the I can get dick anytime I want. I can do. Yeah, anyways, all right, we're done with that. Is he hitting it from the back? I don't know. I might be. So there, they even with the Kong-sized doors closed and the big bar in front of it, Kong still breaks through, which tells you in the past he just didn't want it bad enough. He had the keys to his own freedom all the time. He just didn't want it bad enough. I like how the giant ape is pushing his way through the door, being blocked by a giant log and like 200 natives. Wow, yeah, that's Lumaki. That's crazy. They did like a Lumaki thing where all the natives are running away from Kong, but they hadn't figured out Lumaki technology yet. So there's like a white line around every person running at the screen, like a distinct halo around their heads. And then yeah, that appears to be. That's weird. The stuff in the bottom isn't as in focus, but the stuff in the bottom appears to be the original shot, and Kong in the background is rear projection. But the Kong looks way better than the people up close. Okay, so there he just broke apart a piece of wood and smashed two natives like it was nothing. That was kind of awesome. That's one of the scenes that was taken out and put back in. And Lamonia likes my dancing. Was talking about that Kong Gong Bong Long. Yeah, LOL. Yeah. Amazing how much scaffolding they have. Like it seems like their primary work of natives is just like worship Kong, avoid extinct dinosaurs, and build scaffolding. So there he picked up another native and he bit him. And then when they cut to the animatronic and there's a dude in his mouth, that's awesome. And the Kong animatronic is just like the animatronic they have at what is it, Warner Brothers Studios, I guess, the amusement park, theme park, whatever you want to call it, where you take like a tram ride and a giant Kong pops up or whatever. It's almost the same exact one from those commercials of that place. So now Kong is just angrily smashing bungalows. Oh, he hates a cabana. If you live in a grass hut, you run, because Kong will not take your hay roof crap. The three little pigs tried to warn us. There's another dude he ate. So he grabbed one and just threw him under his foot and smashed him. And then he grabbed another one and chewed on him for a minute and then smashed him. And then he like rubs his foot like a cigarette butt. Like he really puts him out. That's kind of amazing. Long Duck Dong. What's a happening, hot stuff? So everybody here knows good stuff. Bones says Long Duck Dong, and Lamonia followed it up with the what's a happening, hot stuff? And I'll say no more Yankee my wanky. She off to marry oily bohunk. Oily variety bohunk. That's what it is. So now Kong is at the beach, and he's hurting. They've hit him with a bunch of spears, and I'm assuming they've drugged him at this point. And you can see him; he looks like a drunk, like he's just like crawling around on the ground, trying to hold onto the carpet so he doesn't fly off the earth. Tequila does the same thing to me, homie. He'll be out for hours. So you had no idea you were going to find this giant monster, and you have this boat that probably won't accommodate him. But we'll make it work. Strap him on the roof like it's a Volkswagen. See? Smexy girlfriend. Now you have to do a 16 candle stream. I probably should. I put it out before, though. I like doing horror, action, and crime drama, I should say, action and crime drama, and sci-fi the most, because comedies are hard to commentate because they're already trying to be like funny, and so all I'm doing is just talking about what's going on screen. Like it's too many levels of trying to interpret things. But I am overdue to do a bunch of Coen Brothers films, and those are comedies. So, oh crap, where am I? Hour and 20. So there's 20 minutes left. So this is the third act. So when they open Kong on Broadway is the start of the third act. That makes sense. So what did I miss at the midway point? Is that when Kong, or probably when they kidnapped Fay Wray? I bet that was the 50-minute mark. But for those of you playing along on your bingo cards at home, yes, the movie is playing along per screenwriting. The 25-minute mark is when they should have tried to put Kong on the boat. So Bruce Cabot went from being just a sailor in a turtleneck, and now he's like at opening night on Broadway with a tuxedo on and stuff. Like, shouldn't the story just leave him behind? See here, Palooka, you're no longer needed. There's horror in being a teenage girl. See, Lamonia got me. She got me there. And a teenage boy. Did you see Anthony Michael Hall in that? Although the transformation of Anthony Michael Hall from 16 Candles to Johnny B. Good is kind of amazing. Like, clearly steroids were involved. Allegedly. I'm not trying to defame Anthony Michael Hall, even though he's carrying a lot of water weight and suddenly has strange acne. Let me see your shoulders. If it hadn't been for her, we couldn't have gotten King Kong. So yeah, here they explain that when they captured when they got Kong from the island, 17 people died capturing him, but the people who counted the deaths in the movie say there's actually 18. So Carl Denham doesn't know what he's talking about. He's an unreliable narrator. Let's see, where am I? The first broadcasting of this on television was in 1956. There was one last re-release of it. As I said earlier, this was the first film to ever be released on Laserdisc and the first film to ever have a commentary track. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an approval rating of 97% with an average rating of 9 out of 10. They say King Kong explores the soul of a monster. Breakthrough special effects. Metacritic has it 92 out of 100, so that's also pretty damn good. Variety thought the film was a powerful adventure. The New York Times gave it an enthusiastic account of the plot and called it a fascinating adventure. The New Yorker called it ridiculous. So the New Yorker was anti-Kong. New York World Telegram said it was one of the very best of all the screen thrillers done with cinema's slickest camera tricks. And Chicago Tribune said it was one of the most original, thrilling, and mammoth novelties to emerge from a movie studio. Roger Ebert included it on his great movies list. And said even allowing for its slow start, wooden acting, and wall-to-wall screaming, there is something ageless and primeval about King Kong that somehow still works. And I agree. I watching it now, it plays just as well as any black and white film. Now here's where they come out on stage. There's Kong on Broadway, and they have Kong now. The roles are reversed. He's tied up and being held captive, the way Fay Wray was, the way old girl, African-American version of Midsummer was. So now he's the captive, and he's on top of metal scaffolding, which is like the Donkey Kong imagery. Once again, looks like rear projection. All the stuff from the bottom third of the screen is real life, and the stuff in the back is stop motion that they're projecting onto a screen behind them. So now here they bring out the entire crew to take pictures, the boat crew. And I don't know, once again, these are pretty damn good, pretty good special effects. Because they even move the fur around on Kong when they do the stop motion. As you can see from the popping in the screen over here, that they're taking pictures of Kong. They're like all getting selfies. They're pushing the boundaries of what Kong's going to tolerate. I see a little silhouette of a moose, Mr. Bones says. Russell says he was born in 56 when Bela Lugosi died. So that's a significant time period there to be be born in. Lugosi dies. Kong goes to TV. So now Kong has broken his wrists free, and he's just like trying to smash everything around him. And he's got all his restraints off. I don't know why the hell they thought like a handful of chains could hold back King Kong when he busted through a door being held by like 200 people. They grossly miscalculated. There, he punched through a wall. So you're going to use 5 chains to hold him, but he can punch through a wall? Like, what are you, nuts? Once again, rear projection. You got a bunch of folks running around at the bottom of the screen, and then there's a movie playing of Kong behind him. There's another. Yeah, there's the guy he puts in his mouth in the city and then throws him on the ground, spikes him like a football after a touchdown. So there's another one of the scenes that were originally removed. Yeah, he's approximately 3 stories. Because he's standing on the ground and I can count 3 windows. This isn't hard. He's actually like, yeah, just under 3 stories. But by the time they get to Kong, whatever, Skull Island or whatever, that the new King Kong, suddenly he's like 500 feet tall. Just noticed we can see your movie on your window. Yeah, exactly. I tried to put on the mirror thing before, but then like I noticed my tattoos and stuff are all backwards, so it kind of bothers me. But every time I go to like High Five Larry or something on the show, like I'm always they're reverse steering like RC Pro-Am. I'll never get a hold of it. So yeah, here's the wrong woman, right? Yeah, he reaches in through a window and we see Kong's hand come in and pick a woman up out of bed. And then he looks at it and realizes it's not Ann Darrow. And he just throws her to the ground and she falls like 5 stories and dies. Earlier when I was talking about how all the different interpretations of the movie, I see it as a Beauty and the Beast love story, and other people see it as like, the metaphorical, representation of African American culture or whatever, like they explain in Inglourious Bastards. But the director of this, Merian C Cooper, he said one time he came out of a building in New York and he looked up at the top of the Empire State Building and he thought about what it would be like if a giant gorilla was on top of it, like what an amazing scene that would be. And he worked backwards from it, like a whole big city versus nature kind of thing, like how the city life and concrete jungle will destroy the natural world. So that's a totally different third interpretation there. Wow. So now they showed a shot of Kong. He's hanging on the building. He reaches in the window and grabs Fay Wray, and we cut to a shot behind him, and you see King Kong's butt, and they're animating the hair on King Kong's ass. Like, I want that job. I want to be in the credits as a monkey hair butt manipulator. Special crew in charge of monkey butt hair. The King Kong film with Jeff Bridges, I liked. Yeah, I talked about that earlier. When I was a kid, that was the King Kong. And I believe in that one, the poster, the main poster, Kong is like hanging on the Twin Towers, the World Trade Center. But that one's got a real bad Kong. It's clearly a dude in a monkey suit. I think it's maybe even the same monkey suit of the guy who was in Trading Places. Like that King Kong and that Trading Places gorilla are basically the same. It's just a really good monkey suit. The same monkey from Incredible Shrinking Woman with Lily Tomlin. Like all those ape suits look the same in all those movies. It's like there's no, until Congo comes along and Amy looks totally different, but she looks crazy. Be sure to put in the chat or the comments your favorite kaiju movie. I'm a Kong guy. A lot of other people are Godzilla, but a lot of people really like that new King Kong Monsterverse stuff. The new stuff, it's all right to me. I enjoy it. The CGI makes it so much easier. I keep pointing out the painstaking work it takes to make this come to life. Like here, there's half the screen or 3/4 of the screen on the right side is You can see it shaking. It's a building, but it's a live action set. And then they cut the screen, and in back, you can see Kong climbing around and trying to get up on the elevated train and the bridges and stuff. So it's two shots. It's a split screen shot, and you can almost even see where it merges together, where the seam is. But nowadays, you just do all that in a computer. You got like 10 nerds working on it 24 hours a day. I don't know. I personally don't respect it as much. No offense to nerds working on things 10 hours a day. I am one. The Bugs attack was great in Peter Jackson's King Kong with Jack Black. Yeah, I forgot Jack Black was in there. He's the Carl Denham character. And then Adrian Brody as Bruce Cabot was a weird casting. You can tell that was Adrian Brody was fresh off of The Pianist and a bunch of other stuff. And he was kind of the flavor of the month actor for a while. And he ended up, with the Bruce Cabot role. And what's her name? Naomi Watts was Fay Wray, or Ann Darrow, I should say. Fay Wray is the actress, Ann Darrow is the character. But I actually think Naomi Watts did a much better job than Fay Wray. I think Jessica Lange did a better job than Fay Wray. Jessica Lange in that 1970s King Kong, she's just chef's kiss. That's a pretty lady. So now they cut to the shot of a radio, and we hear the radio announcer, King Kong is headed toward the Empire State Building. And then, of course, they take down the primitive beast with modern technology. It's another artistic kind of thing they want to throw in there with these biplanes. Oh, dude's got gangster hair. I always love that in these movies, these old-timey flicks. Whenever they dress up one of the characters, like, the male characters, they put like all this Brill cream in their hair, and they put like a tux and, everything on them. And their hair is all slicked. Like James Cagney in all his movies has this. I mean, it's all Brill creamed up, and then he starts shooting the machine gun and all that. And then like the hair like kind of gets messed up. That's how you see that the civilized man has kind of been unhinged. So old buddy Bruce Cabot there, he had gangster hair, the disheveled. Clearly, he's no longer there to be a civilized gentleman, pretty boy. So here comes 4 biplanes. In the Peter Jackson version, one of the biplane pilots is Rick Baker, the famous special effects guy. To my knowledge, none of the pilots here are anybody of note. So now Kong's on the main antenna steeple point part. I don't even know what you would call that. On the top of the building, you can see all the windows of offices and apartments and stuff. They should have had Abbott and Costello and the Bowery Boys as flying the planes. Ooh, ooh. Yeah, that is great imagery. Dude is right. To see the big skyline of the city and then see Empire State Building, and there's like this little 3-story gorilla hanging from the top of it. It's pretty amazing. I still haven't seen that one, Russell, the Peter Jackson one. Yeah, I recommend it, Jason. It's in my opinion, the best version of Kong, but it needed a half hour trimmed out of it. It's too long. When it plays on TV with commercials, it's like a 3-hour joint. Pugwall says, hi, everyone. Good morning. Our friend Matt. Welcome, Matt. Welcome, Matt. So here Kong is waving his fist in the air, and he's about to spike Fay Wray like a football. And the biplanes are doing loop-de-loops. Want somebody to get out and walk on the wing, too? We're a bunch of barnstormers, see? We're taking a break to fight this monkey. So they're opening fire on Kong, and this is very I remember even as a kid, this kind of bothered me. Now I kind of laugh at the silliness of these shots of the biplane and everything. But in the Peter Jackson version, they really do a good job of this scene with the acting where Fay Wray knows, or whatever, Ann Darrow knows, if Kong sets her down, they'll open fire. So she begs him, keep holding me. Like she doesn't want him to die. So she's she's willing to put herself in risk as like a shield. But then he sort of sets her down and accepts his fate. Yeah, they just keep doing flybys and shooting at him. That's pretty amazing shot. Oh, he grabs one of the biplanes. That's cool. He grabbed one of the biplane by the wings and then threw it really hard, and they went to a POV of the plane, so the camera shot like twisted as we fell to the ground. That was really actually, that's a good shot for now. For 1933, that was downright amazing. There, now Kong's been hit a bunch of times, and we can see the blood starting to pour out of him. Folks are welcoming Pugwall. Yeah, Matt's the man. We love us some Matt. Matt and I are, for those of you who are fans of black and white films, Matt and I have already set the date to watch Reefer Madness together. Be sure to subscribe to Matt's channel and keep an eye out for that. I believe May 25th, are we going to do it? Sometime at the end of next month. So there, Kong is on his last breath. He's hanging by one hand. And there, this is the part I think in the Peter Jackson version where she tells him, like, please pick me up. And she's begging, like, he grabs her and scoops her up. And she goes back to claymation. And there's the animatronic hand holding her out over the city. That shot in the Peter Jackson one is like iconic. It's in the poster and stuff where he's sitting there and holding her, and you can see the cityscape in the background with the sunset and everything. But yeah, he kind of picks her up one last time and give her like a hand hug. And then he sets her down, and they just continue to open fire on him, and he's getting ready to fall. He's doing the all is lost moment here. Wow, the biplanes keep flying into the camera, and they're shooting as they're doing it. So it looks once again, for 1933, that's pretty damn amazing to have those like squibs going off, and it looks like these flying right at you and shooting you. So Kong fell off the top of the Empire State Building, and he banged against the building all the way down. That's awesome stop motion, especially for 1933. And then here comes Do Nothing Dipshit, who just shows up and gets the girl at the end. I hate him. You did nothing. I'm Team Big Monkey. All you did was have cool gangster hair for like 5 seconds. I'm more suited for her, see? I'm not a 3-foot tall ape. Or 3-foot tall, 3-story tall ape. A 3-foot tall ape would be cool too. Hilarious. Carl Denham shows up at the crime scene, and the police won't let him through. And he goes, sir, I'm Carl Denham. And they're like, oh, let him through. We're all familiar with your work. And then here's the famous last line. The airplanes got him. And he says, no, it wasn't the airplanes. 'Twas Beauty that killed the beast. And then he just puts his hands in his pocket and shakes. It's like, what are you going to do, Jack? It's Chinatown. The end. Radio Pictures, regulated U.S. Patent Office. Kind of amazing. Smoke up, Johnny. Love Starleaf. Kids go looking for the Gray's marijuana field. Wow, I'm not familiar with that one. That sounds like something I would like. Morning, Gareth. How are you, sir? Welcome. It's not a party if Gareth doesn't wake up and join us. So on the You May Also Like list, which is my favorite thing to wrap up these movies with, it recommends Son of Kong, which, like I said, came out in the same year. Also, Godzilla, 1954. Godzilla 2014. Godzilla 2000. Godzilla 1964. Actually, Ghidorah and the Three-Headed Monster. Ghidorah. The Blob. That's a good one, from 58. The Searchers from 56. Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla from 74. Godzilla Raids Again from 1955. I was unfamiliar with Godzilla Raids Again. Awesome. North by Northwest from 59. Godzilla versus Gigan from 1972. Superman the Movie. Destroy All Monsters from 1969. That's a classic. Terror of Mechagodzilla. Godzilla versus Megalon, and there's Jet Jaguar. Mothra versus Godzilla, Son of Godzilla, Rodan. Damn, HBO Max or whatever we're calling it has all these movies. Invasion of Astro Monster, Godzilla vs. Hedorah, All Monsters Attack. That's the one with Minya, Godzilla's son, baby Godzilla, whatever you want to call it. And when I was a kid, there was a Godzilla cartoon, and the kid was Godzuki, but for some reason in the movies, it's Minya. Ibira, Horror of the Deep from 66, Wizard of Oz from 39, War of the Gargantuas from 66, Dune. I'm assuming that's there just because of special effects. Same with The Hobbit. Huh. Interesting. Well, folks let's see, let's catch up with the last of the chat. Russ, Gareth, hi Pugwall, hi Puggy, Gareth, hi SNS, Caveman Movies and More. Hey Don, everyone please hit that like button. Thank you, Caveman. I appreciate that, guy. It's cool of you to show up. Yeah, we're just closing things up here. We finished watching King Kong. In general, I find two things do very poorly on these watch-alongs. Black and white films, or anything I do way late, like anything around 3 a.m, just gets the worst views because the original viewership doesn't really promote YouTube to send it out to other people. They're like, this isn't a popular thing. So I did it a little bit early tonight, but the black and white's going to hold it back. So I appreciate seeing all you folks pop in and show support. Metaphorically hold my hand while I watch this old timey flick. So yeah, that was King Kong, 1933. Basically, I wanted to talk about it and why I would love a movie this much that I would get it tattooed on my body. As I say, it not only reminds me of my childhood and sitting around and watching those old black and white monster movies and being a fan of Fangoria and Famous Monsters of Filmland and all that stuff. It also, like I say, it's a poetic piece about the love between men and women and gender roles and whatnot. But 18 people died, mostly horrific, usually bit or stepped on or falling to their deaths from huge heights. Maybe that's where my fear of heights came from. I'm blaming King Kong on that. But yeah, I don't know. As a 6'8" man, it's hard to believe I connect to a giant ape, huh? But I do, and I'm glad you connected with me to watch along. Thank you for all of you who joined us in the chats. Ginger Ninja, Karen from Spirits and Screams, Russell, Guy from Caveman Movies and More, Gareth from Video Tasties, Echo Cero. Mayanne was here for a while, Ammonia Demonia, Mr. Bones. Let's see here. I remember Baby Godzilla would rub its belly to make fire. Yeah, I do recall that. Great stream, Big Dom. Thank you, Russell. I always appreciate you having here, man. You're the coolest. Yeah, I thank you for joining me and watching this. Be sure to join me again next time, and be sure to join us on Larry's channel on Friday for Into House. I think we're on episode 12, perhaps already. Still not canceled. Can't believe it either. Russell's laughing at the thought of Baby Godzilla rubbing its belly to make fire. Yeah, Minya. Yeah, thank you so much. Get some sleep, you guys, or find another movie to watch yourself and let me know what you're watching so I can watch it with you. Otherwise, I wish you green grass and high tides forever. You have a great night, my friends.